So how do you find fish in our southern estuaries at the end of winter and into early spring when the water's at its coldest and everything feels completely dead? Well, come with me now and I'll show you. G'day, Starlo here, and I want to give you a few tips on finding fish at that tough time of the year when the water is really cold and you're just not seeing any action. Look, it happens in all our southern estuaries and it's something I battle with every year, just as I'm sure you do. There are a couple of fairly obvious things that you can do, and one of them is to look for some warmer water. It sounds pretty obvious, I know, but if the water is 9 or 10 or 11 or 12 or 13 degrees in most of your estuary system, and you can find somewhere that's 1 or 2 degrees warmer, chances are that's where a lot of the fish activity will be. So how do you do that? Well, one of the things you do is you go into these shallow backwaters, these big open expanses of shallow backwater with a fairly dark bottom strata, because what's happening is the days are already starting to lengthen and the radiant heat from the sun is beginning to warm this water up, even if the air is still quite chilly. So it could be the case that the water in here is 1, 2, even 3 degrees warmer than out in the main body of the lake or the river. So get into those backwaters and have a look. And if you start seeing some activity, some mullet rippling, some bait spraying, chances are you've come to the right place. I'm in about probably 80 centimetres of water here, and it's shelving up to a lot less in there. But this is where I reckon things like flathead and bream will be at the moment, seeking out that bit of warmth from the late winter sun. Let's see if I'm right. It might be cloudy and late in the day, but my polarised Mako sunnies are still going to be a big help in reading this terrain. I'm basically blind casting out across these shallow mud flats into just 50 or 60 centimetres of water. I figure with it being a bit warmer, fish could be anywhere here, and I'm fishing light too. Mullet just splashed over there. I'm living life a little bit dangerously at the moment. I've got my really light rig on here. I've got 3-pound fluorocarbon straight through to the lure. I was chasing some bream using this outfit the other day, and 3-pound fluorocarbon right to a hard-body lure mightn't be the most sensible thing to do if I think that decent-sized flathead are on the cards, but I'll give it a go. Sometimes you've got to take a risk to get a fish. Going lighter and finer is another strategy I commonly resort to in winter and early spring. But so far, it's not producing any action. As the afternoon progresses and light levels drop, a bit of a breeze has also kicked in. That might actually help. And I'm now working some likely structure in the form of an oyster lease with its array of posts and rails. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Risky business paid off. Combination of that shallower, warmer water and a little bit of structure in the way of these oyster leases here has produced a hookup. I'll just take it nice and easy because I don't know how deep he's got the lure or even what I've got. Feels a bit like a flathead though. It's going fairly hard on the light gear. No, it's a bream. There you go. I'll just hold myself in position here while I grab the net. It's not a bad bream either. Oh, it's a nice fish. Wow. Huh. That's a lovely bream. And there we go. The depths of late winter. And I mean, you expect to catch bream in winter. They're a good year-round fish. And they actually don't mind the cooler water. He smacked that little shallow running hard body. Just got neatly pinned. Handsome looking fish. That is. Wonder how big he is. He's about 32 centimetres to the tail tips. Not a bad fish at all. I'll pop him in the live well because I don't want to release him right here where I'm fishing so he doesn't spook the other ones. I'll probably end up letting him go. Not that there'd be anything wrong with taking that one home for a meal either. Gee, it wasn't going to get off. There we go. Okay, in the live well. Ooh. Check that fine line and make sure it's not damaged and get back into it. I wouldn't normally recommend 3-pound fluorocarbon straight through for fishing oyster leases, but whatever it takes to get the bite. I'm casting as close as I dare to the structure and working the lure back with a fairly slow, erratic action. Notice that I make lots of brief pauses and let the minnow slowly rise in the water column. This is really important. I also watch it closely as it comes into view. There's a lot more to this game than simply casting and cranking. All right, I'll keep pushing along. It's certainly a big help to have an electric motor for this caper, but even without one, you can often set up a good drift line or use a small anchor on a short line to hold position as you cast before lifting it, repositioning and casting again. But move as slowly and quietly as you can and work the water thoroughly. It will happen. Oh, yes. There's another one. He followed it well out, which is probably a good thing. Looks like there's a few fish along here, and this one is a flathead. Looks legal as well. So, finding this bit of warmer water back in the shallows, it's definitely paid off. Remember that tip. Oh, this one swallowed it. I better get a net under him before he chews me off. There we go. Oh yeah. It's well and truly legal. Look at that. He's woofed it. It's pretty lucky he didn't chew me off on the 3-pound. That'll definitely need a retie. I'll get him in the well. See how he's inhaled it head first? They often do. I'd have trouble releasing that one alive. Good thing it's a keeper. My dinner's sorted. So I made rather a mess of one of the treble hooks getting it out of that flathead, and rather than try and swap the trebles over now, I've just put the same lure but in a different colour on. I don't think it'll make any difference. We'll keep working along here. Again, study the way I manipulate this shallow running hard-bodied lure. Lots of stops and starts and downward flicks of the rod tip. I'm always thinking about what that lure's actually doing out there and what I'm trying to imitate with it. In this case, a small, wounded, sick or frightened baitfish. I don't think enough people concentrate on the subtle nuances of presentation, but they can make a world of difference. To me, a really likely looking, I was going to say a likely looking spot up ahead, but there's one here as well. Oh, I'm not going to stop this guy. Oh, I knew I'd get myself into trouble using this light line, and I have. Oh, how I kept him off those racks with the 3-pound, I do not know. That was redlining it. It's amazing how hard you can pull when you have to. I reckon I stopped him centimetres short of the oyster racks. It's a lovely bream. Good thing I was still on spot lock on the electric too, because it held us here. It didn't let him drag us in. Oh yeah, here's a lovely brim. Wow, that's so good. Oh, that was touch and go. He went a lot harder than that first one. He's a bit bigger, but he's not massively bigger. Oh, he's a pretty good fish. Nice yellowfin brim. Just pinned on that hard body. It's got a little bit of a sore on the side there, and sometimes they get stuff like that in winter. I don't know if it's the colder water or the inactivity or whatever, but it's come springtime when the water warms up, they seem to lose those sores. Ah, oh, that's a chunky brim. I'll get that one in the live well. This is turning into a reasonable session. Well, I guess that effectively answered the question about whether the colour change would make any difference. Absolutely none, and I think people put way too much emphasis on colour when it comes to lure selection. There are a lot of more important things. Where you put the lure and what you do with it is far more important than what colour it is. All right, let's see if there's some more in here. This is too much fun. I am definitely going to get shredded here in a minute though. Talk about living dangerously. What I was going to say before that brim climbed on was that if I was going to pick the best spot along here, it'd be the end of the racks here and the little bit of debris out to the right of them. That looks like a prime spot to me. So we'll see if I'm right. I'm going to put spot lock on again here in a minute. That was what saved me with that fish. The boat stayed in position and I was able to get lots of side strain on and pull him up just this side of the racks. Whether I'll be able to do that again is another question. Make sure I've got as much drag on there as I can dare to put on 3-pound line. It's a risky game, but maybe I wouldn't be getting the bites at all without going light. Who knows? But I'm a believer in finesse. Bait or mullet splashing up there, all good signs. All right, I'll keep moving towards that spot that I identified. Fast running out of light here. There's a lot of cloud along the horizon. It's going to start getting dark very early today. All right, I think this area in here, and I know it's probably hard for you to see with the glare, but there's a real confluence of structural elements here with the oyster rack line coming along and then a post out here. I'll put spot lock on and get my lure into the danger zone. But, of course, there are no guarantees in fishing. I would have almost put money on that one. It mightn't have produced today, but that corner will hold fish. I'll be back. Running out of light really fast here. It's going to be dark by the time I get back to the boat ramp. And you'll notice that I've got my little Worko's HD03 on here. I made a video about this. I love this little thing. It's just clipped on there all the time, so I've got light. But Worko's must have liked my review too, because they just sent me one of these. It's the HD02, and this thing is a weapon. I'm serious. I reckon you could use it for hand-to-hand combat. It's nearly 300 grams. It's really solidly made metal. Oh, and it is so powerful. I'll try and give you a look at it later at night. The beam is just incredible on this thing when you got it up on maximum. But it's, again, a nice simple one to use. Just click it and it comes on, and then hold it down and cycle through until you get to the brightness that you want. And it's got a memory, it'll come back on at that brightness, which is really cool as well. But what I like about it are these little side bits. It's like a transformer. You open these up and they're little floodlights, and they come on immediately as you open them. You can set it like that, and you can stand it either that way or that way in your tent or whatever with those little floodlights. And again, you can cycle through the strength of those and they get quite bright. You can just open one if you want to, and all you got to do is open it, and it comes on. It's a bit like the fridge door. You'll have to believe me that when you close it, it does go out. I'll tell you a lot more about this once I've had a bit more of a play with it. It's not something I'm going to stick in my pocket and have on me all the time because it is quite hefty, but I've got it in my camera case, and I reckon it's going to get me out of some serious trouble one day. They've only just released these, and they've got all kinds of special deals on them. If you use my code down below, you'll get the best available price on one of these Workos HD02s, the big brother of the 03. Good gear. All right, let's get back into it. It's very nearly time for me to get out of here while I've got enough light to see where I'm going. It's a lot darker than it looks on your screen. These cameras are pretty good, but I've just spotted a couple of really prime looking snags over here. So I'm going to go in and hit them with one of my little fur jigs tied on one of these Arc Genesis jig heads. If you're interested in knowing how I make these, hang around until the very end of the video and I'll give you a quick how-to on it. It's not particularly hard, and they catch a lot of fish. Sometimes they catch fish when hard bodies and soft plastics won't. I suspect because not a lot of fish have seen them. They have the effectiveness of a fly, but the castability of a jig. Quite handy at times. All right, let's see if anything lives on these snags, and I've beefed my gear up. This is no place for 3-pound fluorocarbon. No country for old men. Well, no country for 3-pound fluorocarbon. I've stepped up to the BFS gear. I've got, what have I got, 10-pound braid on here and a 10-pound leader. So got a pretty tight drag. See if there's a big brim or something lurking in these snags. You never know your luck. But despite peppering those snags from various angles with my deadly little fly jig, nothing. Like I said, it's a tough time of year. Sometimes we just need to accept that. In a few weeks or months' time, the story here could be very different. Well, it doesn't seem like there was anything on those snags, nothing that wanted to play anyway. So I'm going to pull stumps now, but I hope I've been able to give you some ideas about where and how to look for fish in those really tough times at the end of winter and into early spring, when the water's at its coldest and fish activity is at its lowest. You can still catch fish if you do the right things. Oh, and if you want to see how I tie these fur jigs, hang on now and I'll show you a quick how-to. Don't forget to also check out that Workos HD02 weapon of a flashlight. And until next time, this is Starlo wishing you tight lines. It's getting dark. It's not hard to tie very effective fly jigs that'll catch all manner of fish. I'm starting here with a 1/4 ounce Arc Genesis jig head, and I'm going to partially flatten the keeper barbs with pliers. You don't have to be too fussy about this, but it'll give you a neater, thinner base to build your fly jig on. Now I take my tying thread and start wrapping it back along the collar towards the hook bend, before trimming off the tag end with my scissors. I really like to add some rubber legs to my fly jigs. This is the same shredded rubber used on spinnerbait skirts, but you could easily make your own from skinny rubber bands or whatever. Tie 4 to 6 strands in on top of the jig collar like I'm doing here. Stretch the ends of the legs forward and trim them at an angle to keep things neat. Neatness certainly isn't essential, but it does enhance the whole process and it improves the end product. Finish tying in the rubber legs. And at this point, I'll also sometimes add a pair of eyes. You can buy these or make your own by melting lumps onto the end of short lengths of heavy mono. They give the jig a nice shrimpy look, I reckon. Now I'm going to tie in a short length of fur on top of the eyes. There's so many different materials that you could use for this. I'll list some handy sources of them in the description, but feel free to use whatever you've got on hand. I've been known to trim a tuft of fur off our cat or dog. You don't want this bit to be too long. At this point I'm going to flip the jig over in the vise so that I can tie another short length of fur in on the opposite side of the collar. Again, keep it short and tie it in nice and tightly. See the effect we're starting to get? It's looking quite prawn or shrimp-like. I'm going to build up the body a bit now. Again, there are so many different things that you could use. This is a commercially made product with a fine wire down the centre, but wool or chenille or even string will do a similar job. Tie it in facing back and bind it firmly in place. Take your thread forward and then wrap the body material forward and tie it off. It's probably a good idea not to use your best scissors to cut wire. So far, so good. Okay, now I'm going to tease out or fluff up that body material. You can use a specialist tool like this one for the job, or an old stiff bristled toothbrush, or even a piece of Velcro. The rougher, fluffier and scruffier it ends up looking, the better. Alright, let's flip it over again and add the last component, the upper wing. I really like something soft, supple and breathable for this, with heaps of inbuilt life and action. Rabbit fur, fox, or all manner of synthetic materials all work. Cut a tuft about twice the length of the jig head and hook and tie it in firmly on top of the collar, like this. Then carefully trim the excess off. Finish off with half hitches, a whip finish or whatever you prefer, and add a drop of super glue, varnish or head cement if you like. And that's about it. One finished fly jig that I guarantee will catch fish. But if all that seems a bit daunting and too much like hard work, there are some excellent commercially made versions on the market. Amongst the best I've seen are Big John's Flig Jigs, made by a Perth-based craftsman. He does a beautiful job. I'll put his contacts down below in the details. Make sure you give fly jigs a go. And until next time, this is Starlo wishing you tight lines.